All right, good evening, everybody. It is November 23rd, 2022. It is 8:48 p.m. Eastern here in Manhattan. So we are live from Canal Street, right here in Chinatown. So we are going to be walking over to Chinatown. We'll check out Little Italy tonight. It's going to be a very fun stream. And then we will end probably right around Radio City Music Hall. But it was a pretty eventful day on Wall Street, even though trading volumes were extremely low. Usually going into the Thanksgiving holiday, trading volumes are light across the board on Wall Street. Tomorrow is the big day. It is Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, Thursday. The U.S. equity markets will be closed, as well as the bond markets. However, on Friday, we will resume trading, although but a shortened trading day. The stock exchange closes at 1 p.m. and the bond market closes at 2. But from everybody that I've been talking to, a lot of my clients, a lot of my friends, it seems as if the vast majority of people are going to be taking off pretty much from here on out throughout the weekend. And if that is in your case, I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving with you, your family, and your friends, and wishing you peace this holiday season. All right, with that being said, let's check out the major equity indices for today. So if we look at the NASDAQ composite, we closed up about 110 points. Now, something interesting about the NASDAQ, if you want to look at the major broader equity indice, if you go to tradingview.com, look at a daily chart of the NASDAQ and put a 50-day moving average there. And you'll notice on I think it was November 11th, was the first time since September 9th that the NASDAQ finally broke above its 50-day. We've since came back to back test that 50-day moving average, and now we are rallying back above again. So just to keep in mind, the indice right now is at 11,285. The 200-day moving average, which is really our main target, comes in right at that round even number of 12,000. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, ticker symbol DJI. The Dow has been leading this market. We've been talking about this almost to the point of ad nauseum. Dow having a good day as well, up about 95 points to 34,194. Now, what's interesting about this rally that I think is very important to pay attention to is this rally started on October 14th, okay? And that rally started right around 28,600, okay? 28,600, and we have now rallied 19% all the way back to where the previous bear market rally concluded on August 16th, right here at that 34,100 level. So I think we need to be aware of that. Let's give a quick check of the S&P500. S&P also having a really nice day. So it seems as if the Dow is leading, and then the S&P, and then the NASDAQ. Now, the S&P 500 has now officially hit our target that we've been having here on the stream, right around that 4,000 round number level, which also coincides with the 200-day moving average, although it is declining. Let's take a quick look at the VIX. We haven't talked about the VIX in a while now. The VIX is the CBOE volatility index, and the VIX is absolutely fallen off a cliff. We are trading at 20, okay? For some perspective on that, at the beginning of October, the VIX was all the way at 34. So you see that VIX coming down. You see the 10-year US Treasury yield come down, and you're also seeing relative strength of the dollar coming down that is fueling this equity rally. Speaking of that, let's take a quick peek at the US 10-year Treasury yield. Something interesting to note here. So we have cut through the 50-day moving average on the 10-year US Treasury yield, right? And now we have back tested that level and rolled over once again. 10-year US Treasury yield trading at 3.689%. So we have yields lower, right? So if we understand the correlation between bonds and yields, as bonds are getting bought up, yields go lower. As bonds are getting sold off or people are selling bonds, yields go up. And generally speaking, on a relative basis, Lower bond yields are stock market positive on a relative basis. Lower dollar, a weaker relative strength in the dollar tends to be stock market bullish, and also lower VIX. That is all I have for you guys tonight. We will get the stream rocking and rolling here. Let me close up my laptop. We're also going to be talking about new home sales data that came in, actually a little bit better than expected. So we're going to be doing a deep dive analysis into that report. And then we are going to talk about the yield curve a little bit. Why is it important to understand what the yield curve is? How do we as traders and portfolio managers interpret the yield curve as a leading indicator for the health of the stock market? So we'll talk about that. Allow me 1 minute and I'll say hello to everybody in the chat. All right, team, we are starting off in the WeWork office here. Let me get down to the street level and then I'll say what's up to everybody. But hopefully you guys are having a good one. And then you could go up to the 8th floor. But I tend to like the 2nd floor a little bit better. So once we get down to ground level, my friends, we will do our annual roll call. Or maybe I need to scan my badge. Nope, we're good. Okay, here we are ground level, my friends. It's good to be back down in Chinatown again. Not too cold out, not too cold, pretty good. All right, let's scroll all the way up to the top and let me say hello to everybody. Hey, my friend Techno Pink is joining us, good to see you. Techno Pink is joining us from the Dominican Republic, by the way. Good to see you, Techno Pink. Paul Greenwell is here, Sunshine After Rain, Mike, British Gray from Tampa, Florida, Andrea is here, Vinny Castellanos says happy Thanksgiving, Tom. Please extend my best regards to Maria Castellano as well. Austin City Limits, Leonardo, Leandro is here, RJ Ethan G, Mona D says happy Thanksgiving, Lemonade MD, Edward Adams says yes, long weekend. I'm loving that. Steph UH says happy Thanksgiving, everybody. FredX is here, the glue that holds the stream together. Order of Courtly says, hey, Tom, good to see you. UniJ22, touring different places. Brick Stonewall is here, says, hey, Tom, and everybody. Lena Sandoval, Prince Ice. And I think that is all we have. I see Susan Wolin. Good to see everybody. So we are going to start off the stream here on Canal Street. We are going to be making a right, which should take us into Chinatown. We'll get to see Chinatown all lit up. It's going to look fantastic. Then we will walk through Little Italy as we progress uptown. And hopefully, if the battery holds out, we will conclude the stream near Rockefeller Center. Now, I have a feeling tonight it's going to be very, very busy and packed in the tourist areas of Manhattan, so Midtown. So it's kind of nice to start off the stream like this here. Pinnacle is here, says lower 70s here today. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. That sounds like fantastic weather. Love that. Destructionist is here. Teresa Diaz, welcome from California. 5 CEOs says hello, Tom, from Tampa, Florida. Good to see all our friends in Tampa. Welcome. So today, obviously, or I would say all of this week. Hold on, let me highlight this alleyway here. Now, this alleyway is actually very famous. It's actually appeared in multiple movies. There's a rat right here. It's actually appeared in multiple movies, and it looks kind of cool, aside from the rat. So this week on Wall Street tends to be historically, I would say, less volatile, lower trading volumes, and the vast majority of, I would say, major players on Wall Street tend to take off. So a lot of people that I know, let me cross the street here. A lot of people that I know in the industry are also taking off on Friday as well. Now tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so the markets will be closed as well as the bond market. But the markets will be open on Friday, but it will be a very, very short trading day. The markets will close at 1 o'clock, and then the bond market is going to close at 2 o'clock. Now, I think if we really dissect this rally here, and many people are calling it, a run-of-the-mill bear market rally. Some people are calling it the start of a new durable uptrend. Now, the two follow-through days that we got about 2 weeks ago are still intact. They're still in play. So my only concern about this particular rally, it's not too broad-based, but the breadth of the market is picking up. I think something along the lines of 60% of stocks are now back above their 200-day moving averages, which is very, very good progress. But we're not really seeing those big leaders start to emerge, right? And in previous, I would say, bear market bottoms and at the turn of bear markets, the true market leaders that tend to lead in the new bull are really, really obvious. Like, they start to come out almost immediately on thunder volume, and we're really not seeing that. Now, energy, as we know, continues to lead the market. XLE is trading near all-time record highs. If you look at some of the oil and gas stocks like ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, they're all doing really well. Now, you guys all know my main concern with that, and that is you're seeing a little bit of a divergence between crude oil and the XLE. However, we have been getting a little bit of a bid in crude, but if you look at the general trajectory of where crude oil topped, it was all the way back in March, and we hit a high of, I think, 130. And I'm looking at the light crude futures, so ticker symbol CL. Hey, Skyline 2020 says tech should lead first in a market recovery. I think we will see that when the Fed pivots to only 50 basis points in December. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So usually that does happen. But it seems as if in this environment, I never want to say it's different this time, but if you look at previous bear markets, right, we had a very, very short bear. I would say all the way back in 2018. Now, does anybody remember that stock market sell-off in 2018? We actually bottomed on Christmas Eve. And it was like this very massive waterfall sell-off. But I think what was different between then and now is in this market, you're living in an environment where rates are going higher. So usually the NASDAQ will explode from the bottom and lead the S&P, and the S&P will lead the Dow 30 or the Dow Jones Industrial Average. But this is actually the exact opposite. The Dow seems to be leading the S&P, and the S&P seems to be leading the NASDAQ. And it's probably because NASDAQ, obviously a very tech-heavy indice. If we walk straight up here, we'll go into Little Italy. But I think I want to take one lap around Chinatown just to check it out. Haven't been to Chinatown on the stream in a while. Obviously, the NASDAQ is a very tech-heavy indice. And I think the thing that has been saving the S&P500 is its exposure to both financials and obviously energy, right? So we'll see. I mean, to your point, the Federal Reserve did say that they may only increase interest rates to the tune of 50 basis points at the next meeting. And that next meeting is December 13th to the 14th. But we also did hear from the Fed minutes today, but we really didn't hear anything that we didn't already know. So, hey, SoCal Lawrence, thank you so much for the $2 donations. Thank you, Tom, for the walk tonight. I miss New York already. Oh, that's right, SoCal Lawrence. Hopefully you enjoyed your time here in New York. Thank you for the donation and thank you for supporting the stream. I thought you were going to be here all week, or maybe you went back because you have to go home for Thanksgiving. But hopefully you had a great time in New York. And thank you for supporting. Aspilian Loda is here, or Iota. This is good evening, everybody. Good to see you. John Sorley is here. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to you too, my friend. Yeah, you're right. Skyline 220 is correct. End of 2018 was a bad sell-off, but the Fed pivoted, and they called it due to the taper tantrum. Yeah, you're 100% right. Chris Beeman is here. Welcome, Chris. Good to see you. Kirby, welcome. Says months ago you mentioned home appliances and... Oh, look at the Tesla taxi. Kirby says months ago you mentioned home appliances and retail's good to be heavily discounted. Yeah, and I still hold that view. And I think you actually can, as of right now, get very good deals on things like kitchen appliances, furniture specifically. James Dixon, thank you so much for your $10 donation. I appreciate it, James. And I'm wishing you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. And I appreciate your donation as we walk through Chinatown here. But to Kirby's point, a while back we were sort of forecasting this. And the reason why we were talking about it is because if you look at a lot of the data, especially from consumer spending, durable goods tend to be taking a little bit of a back seat, right? Especially over the last, I would say, 8 months. I would say 6 to 8 months. You know, spending on durable goods, things like electronics, appliances, you name it, has been really taking a back seat to experiences. You know, what did we talk about on the stream last night? Hold on, hold that thought. This is more important. Right here, let me move over a little bit so you guys can see the address. This restaurant, 69 Mott Street, 456 New Shanghai Restaurant, is my favorite restaurant, or my favorite Chinese restaurant, I should say, in all of Chinatown. So if you do come to New York, you want to venture to Chinatown and eat in a fantastic place, this is the place to go. This is fantastic. Now, I haven't gone here since I've been back to New York. I may have to go here next week, but I just wanted to point that out. Fantastic place. But yesterday on the stream, we pointed out a couple of the hotel stocks. Anybody remember we talked about those? Because we started off the live stream on 57th Street, Billionaires Row, and we were walking past the Park Hyatt. So we looked at ticker symbol H for Hyatt. We looked at Marriott. And a lot of these stocks are showing relative strength, right? Now, we're not pointing that out to make recommendations to buy or sell or do anything like that, but it's just to watch the trend as to what is showing relative strength in the market. And it seems as if demand for travel, demand for experiences is sort of outweighing the demand for durable goods in a way. And we could sort of reinforce our conclusions here if we think back to the live streams at the beginning of Q3 earnings season, when we looked at the financial reporting of a lot of the investment banks and banks in general that are big credit card issuers. I believe CEO of Bank of America, Brian Moynihan, came out and said that credit card spending is up and consumers are spending on experiences, going out, travel. So definitely a big shift there. Hey, Sabrina Fair, good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Mr. Lantern is here. Jay Victor, welcome. Jonathan France is big. Tom in Chinatown, happy Thanksgiving all. Thank you, Jonathan France. Appreciate it. You know, it's a really, really beautiful night here in New York, and we were just coming off this massive cold front where we were streaming, we were doing the live streams, and it was like 30 degrees maybe. With the wind chill, it probably got into the, the upper 20s, but it's actually pretty nice. It's actually pretty nice. It kind of feels like maybe upper 40s, so thank God for that. Julia M, thank you so much for joining. Welcome, welcome. Chris Beeman says, Tom, how will you be celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow? I'm not going to do nothing too crazy, Chris. I think I'm just going to, hang out with the family, have dinner out on Long Island with my mom. I think it'll be a nice time. What about you? Any big Thanksgiving plans? Now, we were speculating, now that we were on the topic of consumers are now shifting towards experiences and the like, that I think it's going to be a record-setting year for Thanksgiving and holiday travel. So anybody in the chat doing some big travel, cross-country road trips, anything like that? I just want to point out one of my favorite things about Chinatown is all of the paper lanterns that are all strung across from each apartment. I don't think you could find any other place in the United States with something as unique as this. Really, really nice. Hey, Sunset Blue. This is me. I'm in Michigan. Good to see you, Sunset Blue. Das says, hey, Tom, I'm flying to Australia, or from Australia to New York for Christmas. Can't wait. That's awesome. So how long is that flight, by the way? How long is that flight? Are you going to maybe take a layover? Is it going to be direct? Really quick, just nothing in the chat about getting mugged or robbed or ARs or anything like that. I think that's a little bit inappropriate. Can't have that. Chris Beeman says, nope, just cooking a couple turkeys, tenderloins. Fantastic. Good news, Chris. Love that. War Walker, welcome. Sherry Rodrigo. 22 hours via Tokyo, no direct flights until 2024. Wow, I didn't know that. That's a long flight. Skyline 220 says, Tom, did you see Tesla? It was up 8%. Quite the turnaround. Yeah, I mean, Tesla, I think, has entered into, or maybe completing, a major stage 4 decline. And I posted a couple charts on my Twitter. If you guys want to check it out, you could follow at Walks Wall Street on Twitter. And I think about a month ago, 2 months ago, Tesla looked to be carving out probably one of the most egregious head and shoulders topping patterns that I've ever seen. And we're just starting that waterfall style effect now. And I think the stock is down about 60% from all-time record highs. And usually what you'll get in these big sort of waterfall sell-off and declines is price will get so heavily extended to the downside from the 50-day moving average, from the 200-day moving average. And you sort of have these very ferocious neck-snapping rallies back to the moving averages, and then they tend to roll back over. A very, very good example of this would be in a company called 3M, also Caterpillar. So you'll see that at least now, 3M and especially Caterpillar, I think Caterpillar is now trading at all-time record highs. But when these stocks really start to crack, they get moving rather fast. You know, I've never been to any of these restaurants here, and they look really, really good. Let's check out the menu. It's going to be a kind of a relaxed stream. It's, Thanksgiving, and it was very, very busy for me today. But this stuff looks really, really good. I've never been to this place. I may have to check it out, try it. Big fan of scallion pancakes. Now, I will take you guys past my favorite, I would say, soup noodle place in Chinatown that actually just reopened, by the way. Dan Zhang says, Tom, have you ever eaten food before? It is very spicy and it goes well with rice. I don't think so. I don't think I have. But I'm assuming that's this, right? I'm gonna have to try it out, Dan. You gotta give me some recommendations. Rat Fink, thank you so much for the $10 donation. You are too kind. It says, hey Tom, happy Thanksgiving. We are headed towards a 70 to 80 style type recession. Thank you so much for your comment and thank you so much for your donation. So I believe you're probably holding the view, if I had to pick a notable figure on Wall Street, actually let's just do a U-turn. I want to show you guys a little bit more down this way. There's a good bubble tea place here. But Stanley Druckenmiller, which is, I could probably say he's regarded as one of the most successful investors on Wall Street. If you look at his track record or the length of his track record, he's saying something very, very similar. Very, very similar. Now, a 1970s, 1980s style is sort of a stagflationary environment where the market just went in a sideways chop for years, and it was very, very brutal. And I think it may have been the JP Morgan Chase Robinhood conference, not to be confused with the unethical Robinhood retail trading platform, but Robinhood, the charity. And he came on stage, I believe, and made his thesis for a potentially, stagflationary environment. Maybe that's true. I hope not. But I think he may be right. We'll just have to see. We will just have to see. Now, if you look at a lot of leading indicators, a lot of the leading indicators are showing that inflation is going to collapse and we're going to go into a deflationary environment. But as I pointed out before, one of my biggest concerns with the CPI report specifically is that, in my view, right, and this is very opinionated, I think the main components of CPI that are most relevant to American consumers, such as shelter costs, which makes up about 33% of the CPI, we're actually not seeing any contraction there. We're actually seeing acceleration. So that is my main concern there. Judy Loveday says, hello, good to see you. Welcome. Jamie is here. Ethan G, God bless. Daryl says, happy Thanksgiving, Tom. You as well, my friend. Daryl is joining us from Chicago, Illinois. Now this is, if you go up this way, you'll hit into the Manhattan Bridge. Bree Graham says good prices will keep going up, or goods prices. Steve CRs has been fighting volume problems all day now, Tom is yelling. How's everybody? Good to see you, my friend Steve, welcome. Skyline 220 says inflation is breaking hard. We might risk deflation soon if you look at housing. Yeah, I mean, it is possible. Let me just get away from here. Come on. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. But again, the problems that I see is targeted towards the specific categories that affect American consumers the most. And shelter costs is really, really a big problem. And I think it ties right in well with some of the housing data we just got out today. So we heard from the Census Bureau, and U.S. new home sales unexpectedly rose in October. Now, I was actually, and I think consensus was for new home sales to really, really start to decelerate and fall off a cliff and continue with the trend of deceleration. But new home sales actually rose 7%, and there were 632,000 units sold last month. Now, I was digging into the data. Here's a little bit of an area of concern, let's just say. Now, if you look at September's numbers, they were actually revised down. So the original number, if you guys remember from our live stream last month, the number was 603,000 homes sold. that was now revised down to 588,000 new homes sold. And we're going to go through this report tonight, and it's very interesting. The specific, I would say, the geographical locations where sales are really picking up and where sales are really falling off. I think you guys are going to be quite surprised as we sort of go through the data and look there. Wow, but first check out this amazing view of the One World Trade Center right here at Mott Street. Autumn B, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Hey, Bree Graham says, Tom, the rental prices for new studios in Phoenix, Arizona are way over my mortgage on a 4-bedroom house. What's really going on? It's very, very concerning. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and that's exactly sort of the argument that I was trying to make, right? So last week, or I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, time is flying, we got that CPI report that came in below economists' expectations, but I'm like, look, I get that we're getting giddy here and jumping up and down, and we're all excited, but I believe shelter costs actually accelerated at their fastest pace in 20 years. And if you look at the structural hierarchy of needs of what is important to the average person in America, I would say the number one thing is you got to have a place to live, right? You got to have a place to live, a roof over your head, and you got to eat. And those are the two, I would say, weakest spots, unfortunately. But Jamie is here. Welcome, Jamie. I see Kevin Ramsey. Welcome, Kevin. This is good evening, Tom. Always a pleasure to see you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Daniel says, hey, from Uruguay. Good to see you. Cindy Foley is here. Says, hey, Paul. Marty Lewis is happy Thanksgiving, Tom, and everybody. Marty Lewis, thank you for joining tonight. Hopefully you are well, and I'm wishing you a very happy Thanksgiving as well. Now, does anybody want to take a guess? John the Lone Lord says, well, Miami rents are crazy compared to buying a house. Yeah, rents in Miami are very, very crazy. Now, we do this live stream between New York City and Miami, and I'm actually renting out my house down there in Miami, Florida. And I could tell you with certainty from first-person experience, the demand is still crazy high. Crazy, crazy high. Now, as you know, I don't rent out my property on a long-term lease basis, right? So I would say anywhere from 12 to 24 months. I do month-to-month rentals on Airbnb, mainly targeting people who have families that don't want to stay in a hotel for a month. Maybe they could work remotely. And the demand has been really, really high. Like really, really high. Now, not to get too biased here, the reason why demand may be high is because we are going into the winter months, and usually demand is very, very strong during this time because people from the Northeast, people from Canada, we call them snowbirds, usually tend to spend a lot of time during the winter season down in southern Florida, even places like North Carolina, South Carolina, just to get out of the cold. So maybe that's why we're seeing such strong demand down there. Skyline 220 says, Tom, what's your favorite stock right now in the market? I don't have favorite stocks, to be quite honest. Yeah, I don't think I could say I have a favorite stock. My favorite stocks are the ones I own that go up. Zozo Bob says, Miami will always be a hot rental market. Good to see you, Zozo Bob. Jamie says, hierarchy of needs. Queen of Swords says, I live outside Philly and the rent is about the same as New York City. Really? That's surprising. That's crazy. You know what I heard is an up-and-coming rental market, or I would say an up-and-coming market in general, is the suburbs right outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm also hearing that Pittsburgh is turning into a big startup culture as well. This is a really good bakery right here in Chinatown. CM says there are a few places allowed for Airbnb in Miami. Yeah, Miami is a very, very big place. But CM, to your point, if you're going to acquire property down there, in Southern Florida specifically, you really got to check with your local municipalities to see if you could do Airbnb. Now, chances are if you own your physical house and you're not in a condominium or an apartment, you could pretty much do whatever you want. But if your plan is to acquire something as a short-term rental, to CM's point, you really, really got to do your due diligence and check with the local town that you live in to see if it's actually legal to do. Chances are, to his point, if you buy something, in Miami Beach, it's a condo, it's totally outlawed, and you can't do it. It's a good point. Tahoe 814, welcome. Wow, Steve CR says snowbirds also flock to Corpus Christi, Texas during the winter. Fantastic. Hemi Powers here, welcome. Now, does anybody know, from the data we got out today, I think this will be an interesting trivia question as we head into Little Italy here. Does anybody want to guess what the average, or I would say the median house, so we're talking about new home sales, not existing. We got the existing home sales data about 2 weeks ago. I'll quickly show you guys the welcome to Little Italy sign as we head uptown. But does anybody want to take a guess what the median new house price was for October? So out of all the homes sold, what was the median sales price for October? I think most of us are going to get it wrong in the chat. I got it wrong when I guessed. I think you're going to be surprised. Hey, John the Landlord, thank you so much, or the Lone Lord. Thank you so much for your very generous and kind $10 donation. I appreciate you, and I wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. And thank you for supporting the channel. Wow, actually you guys are doing way better than I thought. So I'm seeing a lot of 450K. Bree says 469. Very, very close, Bree. Somebody says 480. Jamie's a little low there. 486 is Steve CR. NFT Boy says 300K. 450. Kathy, I think Kathy Lyons is the closest. Real Talk New York says 950. So Kathy Lyons is the closest. Okay. So for the month of October, according to the data from the Census Bureau, the median new house price in October was $493,000. That is up 15.4% year over year. And that's exactly sort of what I'm talking about, right? I mean, think about that. Yeah, so Marty Lewis makes a good point I was just about to make. So Marty Lewis in the chat, my good friend, says, how can regular people buy a house? Now, I would like to say this because I don't want it to seem like this is the norm. So again, we always have two specific sets of data. Number one is new home sales, and number two is existing home sales, right? So used homes. And new homes tend to be more expensive for obvious reasons, right? Than existing home sales or existing home prices. But to your point, that was my exact argument when we got that big CPI print, right? And then Wall Street got all giddy. You had a parade of pundits coming out on CNBC saying, oh, everything's fantastic. Because shelter costs is like the most important thing in the average person's life, right? And if we continue to see these numbers in an environment where rates have moved up 100% plus year over year, that is a huge, huge expense. Because what have we also learned? Wages in America are not going up enough to keep up with the pace of inflation. This is the Christmas store here. It's actually open 24/7. I shouldn't say 24/7, but all year round. It's like a Christmas shop. Really nice decorations here in Little Italy. So to Marty Lewis's point, you know, it's becoming increasingly more unaffordable for home ownership. And I think it's for I think there's multiple factors at play here. If you look at housing start data since the great financial crisis of 2008, it seems as if a lot of builders have been very, very reluctant to build homes to keep up with demand because they were obviously very scared from what happened with 2008. Also, I would say a lot of local laws too, as it relates to zoning laws. That's a big problem here in New York and California. So we've actually been underbuilding, right? And supply is historically low for the population growth. And I would say the number one thing in market mechanics is basic supply and demand, right? So to your point, it's becoming increasingly more difficult for the average American to afford home ownership. And if you have a 15% year over year increase in new home prices, that is up 15% from last year when interest rates on a 30-year fixed was 3%. Now they're 7%. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the average rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage actually came down a little bit, because take a look at that 10-year US Treasury yield. And the 10-year US Treasury yield is pretty much the benchmark for which all other, or I would say a lot of other financial assets are priced off of, right? So the 30-year fixed rate mortgage tends to move in lockstep with that 10-year US Treasury yield. And we've actually come down quite a bit on the 10-year. So we are now looking at Ferrara Bakery, which is one of the most famous, I would say, Italian bakeries here in Little Italy. It's absolutely fantastic, this place. I would recommend you at least coming here once and trying it out. A lot of good pastries. Although today I actually went to Italy near Madison Square Park, and Italy was pretty good too. Okay, so Jamie also makes a good point. So Jamie says median for coastal areas probably near 750K and flyover country lower on an average near 400. Yeah, you're correct. So the coasts always tend to skew the data, right? And it's funny because I get a lot of emails, obviously from doing the stream, and I sort of need to catch my own biases because I tend to talk about the housing market as I see it here in New York and Miami. And I'm talking about the most expensive housing markets almost in America, right? Aside from some select markets in California. And you can buy starter homes in some places in America for $250,000 to $300,000. Now, to a New Yorker or a Miamian, that may not seem like a reality, but you know, it is. It definitely is a reality for many Americans, I would say, in flyover states, things like that. So it's a good point. Very good point. Dusty Cole is here. Welcome, Dusty. Rachel says New York City is not a good place to live. Brendan O'Brien says, what's your view on the extreme yield curve inversions? Almost historic. Yeah, so the yield curve, generally speaking, when the yield curve inverts, almost every time, I would say about 12 months later, we fall into recession. Now, if you want to do some yield curve analysis here, here's some homework for all of you. And I think I actually posted this on my Twitter. So if you look at Walks Wall Street on Twitter, you could see I posted a chart of the 10 and 2s, okay? So the 10-year note and the 2-year note, dating back to 2008. So leading up to the financial crisis, note when the 10 and 2s invert, and notice when they inverted in 2000 and I think 18 and 19. Now, the interesting thing is we didn't have those big stock market declines in 2019, in my view, because the Federal Reserve came in here, sometimes called the plunge protection team, and saved the market. Where we did have our major sell-off, obviously, was in 2020 with the big C crisis, right? So, to your point, the way the yield curve works and how I interpret it, it is very, very important to pay attention to the yield curve for a couple of reasons. And here's how I interpret it, okay? Many people interpret it in different ways. Here's how I interpret it. If you look at the yield curve in general, so maybe we could do this together. If you go to cnbc.com/bonds, okay? cnbc.com/bonds. Really quick, this is a great sushi place. It's called Bondi Sushi. Fantastic. A+, I would recommend it. Also, this place called Zuba is a fantastic Egyptian restaurant. Very seldom do I eat Egyptian food, but this is fantastic cuisine there. So if you go to cnbc.bonds or cnbc.com/bonds, it'll show you the yield curve, right? The 2-month all the way to the 30-year. And when times are good, right? So think about when investors on Wall Street are expecting GDP growth. They're expecting the economy to do good. They're expecting equity prices to go up. They tend to sell longer dated term bonds and buy shorter term bonds. Now, why would they want to do this on a general basis, right? Well, during times of risk on, right? So I say risk on. As an investor, you would want to buy shorter term bonds because you don't want your money being held up for long periods of time, because you want to buy risk assets like equities. Maybe you want to speculate in the real estate market or buy risk on assets, right? So if we understand how the bond market works, and we talk about this all the time, as bonds are selling off, yields go up. And as bonds are getting bid up or bought, yields go down. So in a normal environment, right, there's 3 conditions of a yield curve, I like to say. When you have, number 1, a normal yield curve, so the yield curve should be sloping up. Number 2 is when you have a flat yield curve, so the yields are becoming flat. And then lastly, you have an inversion in the yield curve. So during good times, investors will generally sell longer term bonds, forcing those yields up, and buy shorter term bonds, forcing those yields down. So you have a very healthy yield curve. Does that make sense? But as investors look to the future and say, ooh, I think risk assets are going to take it on the chin here, what they do is they sell shorter term bonds to buy longer term bonds, because they're willing to lock up their money for longer periods of time because they think risk assets will do better. And that causes a narrowing of the yield curve and thus an inversion. And I think now we have one of the most inverted yield curves we've ever had, I think dating back to the time leading up to the financial crisis. So that's sort of how I interpret the yield curve, in my view. Tony Cortez, what's up, Walks on Wall Street? Happy Thanksgiving. Good to see you, Tony. God bless you, my friend. Thank you for joining. You could just see the Empire State Building from here. I think as we move to the right, we'll be able to see it a little bit better. Audra is here, says, hey, Tom, happy Thanksgiving. Right back at you. Hopefully you have some good plans for tomorrow. Here now, we just can't shill individual stock tickers because that's a little bit of a liability. Rachel is here, says I love Poland. I do as well. Anybody watch the Canada game today? Canada played Belgium. I was so heartbroken today because my team, at least my team for the day, Team Canada, lost. And early on in the match, I'm not sure if you guys watched it, early on in the match, Canada was awarded a penalty kick. And surely I thought they were going to go up 1-0, but the Belgian keeper blocked the penalty. And right when he blocked the penalty, I was like, it's over for Canada, because it is so demoralizing to a team, especially early on, when you miss or blow a wide open opportunity like that. Hey, Jenny is here. Jenny Trickett. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Belinda. Welcome, Belinda. Good to see you. Melee says, hey, Tom. Happy Thanksgiving from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Good to see all of our friends in Scranton. Rob Johnson says, soccer is like watching paint dry. Well, there was a really good game today. If you want to watch the best paint drying, it came out of the Spain game, Spain-Costa Rica. And maybe some of you have really paid attention to soccer. Maybe some of you have played in college or professionally. But I will say this. If you watch the style of play that Spain executed today, that is exactly like how the game is supposed to be played. Top tier stuff. And not just because they scored 7 goals, by the way. It's just because the fluidity of their play was almost unbelievable. Everything was 1-2 touch, very simple. I like to give the analogy, not playing kickball, right? Keep it on the ground, move it fast. And that is exactly the style of FC Barcelona, one of the greatest soccer teams in the world. And I think there's 5 Barcelona players on the Spanish national team. So there's no surprise that we saw some similarities there. All right, teams, so now we have moved through Soho. We are going into NoHo. You can see the flagship Adidas store. And we are going to head through the campus of New York University, uptown, past 34th Street, and all the way to, what's it called? Radio City Music Hall.
Not home this time.
Jenny Trickett says, go Barcelona, love that. I know, James says it helps that the entire midfield was Barcelona players. And it's such a young team too, man, such a young team. Now, I think the best goal, and I'll stop boring you guys with the World Cup stuff, I know you guys hate it. But in my view, the best goal so far in this World Cup came from the Spain game. This kid was 18 years old. I forget his name, but I posted a clip of the goal on my Twitter. And what he did, it doesn't seem like much, but it is like one of the most hardest things to execute ever. So if you want to check that out, check out Walks Wall Street. Rob Johnson says, is it windy there? It's very windy tonight. JM says, yeah, if every one of you are throwing out your love and expect a reply. Bond Luna, good to see you. Smee Media says, by fluidity, does that mean they don't dive? I didn't see too much diving in the Spain game. All right, I think as we venture closer into Midtown, the wind should die down a bit. Ignacio, I agree. The thing is to be able to take, and I promise I'll stop talking about soccer, but you guys just got to watch the goal. If you go to Walks Wall Street on Twitter, I pinned the goal there. To take a cross out of the air, hit it with the outside of your foot, bang it off the left crossbar and in, it's just like near impossible. For anybody who's played soccer here in the chat, I think you sort of understand what I'm talking about. It is ridiculously hard. It's so hard to do in practice, let alone on a World Cup game when you have defenders in front of you. It was an amazing goal. And he's 18. That puts it into perspective how amazing these athletes are. 18-year-old kid performing at that level, insane. Yeah, Dusty calls this the perfect touch. I agree. ATC says, I appreciate your soccer talk, Tom. I appreciate that. So we are now here crossing Bond Street. What games are on tomorrow? I forget. I was so focused on today because Canada was playing. But tomorrow I think there's going to be some World Cup games too. Edward Adams says the footwork and stamina are insane. I just don't like the flopping. Fair, very fair. Oh, CR7. Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo does play tomorrow. And I think Cristiano Ronaldo is no longer with Manchester United, right? Didn't he announce over Twitter 2 days ago that he's cutting ties with Man U? Oh, Ignacio's my country. Uruguay plays tomorrow. Very cool. I'll have to root for Uruguay. Love that. Brazil too. Ooh, it's gonna be a great day tomorrow. Brazil, fantastic. It's gonna be a good Thanksgiving. GGMYC says Portugal. You know what? All right, this is the last thing I'll say about soccer, but did anybody, I think we talked about this a little bit last night. Now, I would say if you want to watch how the game is supposed to be played, you got to watch the Spain-Costa Rica game. That is, and notice, because we used to do this when I was in college, we used to watch film, and our coach used to count how many seconds the ball was at our feet. And if it was for more than 6 seconds, he would freak out and throw a fit and yell and go crazy. In the Spain game, it was like you get the ball, 1-2 touch play. It was just unreal, man, unreal. And it's so hard to do that. But my favorite game in terms of excitement so far was the Mexico game. I mean, talk about crazy. The Mexican goalkeeper saved that penalty kick, and I thought both sides played well. But that's another amazing piece of work. You know, I just noticed this. Did anybody else notice this? Every single trash can on this road so far has been dumped over and thrown in the street. Is that just a coincidence, or is there a reason for this? Or maybe it's just me. I could have sworn the other two were like that as well. Anyway, but yeah, the Mexico game was fantastic. Yeah, GGMYC says Ochoa is the man. Crazy. And I think he's getting older too. I mean, how many World Cups has he played in now? Ooh, James says Friday USA versus England is going to be great. Hopefully USA can pull off a miracle, but England is looking strong. Yeah, James, that's true. That's true. Now, I think the USA got robbed in their game against Wales, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with the outcome. I thought we were going to lose. You know, Bale plays for Wales, one of the greatest players to ever do it. And this U.S. national team is a young crowd. I mean, I think it's the second youngest U.S. or World Cup team we've ever had. Jimmy Anderson says, cheers, brother, turned 32 today. Hey, man, that's awesome. Have a great Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Jimmy Anderson. Love that. What a day to have a birthday, my friend. going into the Thanksgiving Day weekend. You can't ask for anything better than that, my friend. God bless. Prince Ice. Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened with that whole thing, but supposedly they were benching Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Rodrigo Lima is here from Brazil. Welcome to all of our Brazilian viewers. It's good to see you. Yeah, Marco Ace's USA team, great performance this World Cup. Yeah, I thought they looked sharp. For a young team, they look very, very experienced. That was my takeaway. Outer Haven says, Tom, what do you think about the rumor that Argentina threw the game? I don't really believe in any of that stuff, to be honest, because at least from my experience playing soccer, and I know not even on the same relative level at these guys, but I played in college and I did some tryouts for some semi-professional teams. These people really are obsessed with this stuff. And every soccer player's dream, or football player, their goal is to get to the World Cup. And these guys are just wired differently. And I don't think for any amount of money they would throw the game. That's just my 2 cents. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not saying it's not possible. But, I mean, these people train their lives for this event. It's the greatest sporting event on planet Earth, happens once every 4 years. I think there's probably a 1% chance they threw the game. Especially, I think this is going to be Messi's last World Cup. Oh, guys, look at this. This is a rollerblading group here through Manhattan. Yeah, Dr. Longus is always a rumor in every sport. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible. But that's just my take. I highly doubt. Hey, Ian says, Tom, money talks. Look what happened in golf with all the top players taking the Saudi money. That is true, Ian. But here's the thing. Does Leo Messi really need any more money? I mean, I think he's one of the richest athletes to ever live, isn't he? Look, I think there's a lot of good arguments on both sides. I just really don't know. I think I'm still going to stick with my view that I don't think they threw the game. It's hard to throw a 90-minute soccer game. Check out all the rollerbladers. That's awesome. You got to be careful though. Some of these drivers are nuts. Now, here's a cool fun fact. Now, does anybody remember Claudio Reyna? He used to play for the US men's national team. He was actually one of the star players back in the day. It's so cool because his son now is also playing in a World Cup for Team USA. I just think that's incredible. Like, what are the chances of that? And I also think his mom played for the US women's national team too. I mean, talk about a family of super athletes. Rolando. Skyline 220 says France will win the World Cup in my opinion. Although I'm going for USA, of course. I think you actually may be right on that. I think you may be spot on. But team, if you are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you are new. We usually do these live streams about 5 days a week between New York City and Miami, and we would love to have you guys along for the ride. Now, the last thing I want to cover as it relates to that new home sales report. So again, we got a surprise to the upside. There was more homes sold than expected. Sales came in at 632,000. That was up 7% year over year. But let's sort of talk about some of the geographical locations that saw the most strength and the ones that saw the most weaknesses, and then we'll sort of break it down as to why this may have happened. As we wait for the red light here. So sales rose 45.7% right here in the Northeast. Now, many of you may be saying that you're surprised by that, but I think if we look into the data a little bit more, you may not be too surprised, and we'll talk about that later. So the sales in the Northeast are picking up. 45.7% sales increase in the Northeast. And in the South, a very, very strong 16% year over year increase. And I think I'm more impressed by the durability of the sales volumes in the South. Very surprised by it. Now, if you remember from last night's live stream, I actually guessed that it was going to be a really, really horrible number. And it actually exceeded expectations because the South has been very, very strong, not only in new home sales, but existing home sales, really starting off since the pandemic, right? For obvious reasons, without getting too political, so we don't get demonetized and banned from YouTube. But a lot of sales transactions really, really picked up in the South during the height of COVID, right? For reasons I don't think we need to review. But you had very, very lagging sales and even declining sales in the Northeast. But it sort of seems as if the script is flipping here and doing a complete 180. So why might that be? Well, I think I think there's two main reasons. Now, I don't know why, but here's my two main reasons. Number one reason is many organizations and companies are calling their employees back to the office, right? So many people during the pandemic, they decided to move out into more rural areas, away from big cities. But now we've been seeing pretty much almost weekly across the board on Wall Street Journal. Hold on, let me make a move around these people. We'll turn on this way. I'll show you guys the strand. Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Bloomberg, that corporations, broad-based, are calling their employees back to work. So major cities tend to be in the Northeast, huge, huge hubs here in New York City, places like Boston. So I think that's why sales transactions are picking up here. Also, because the Northeast has been a little bit behind the curve, for lack of a better descriptive term, in opening up their economies in comparison to places like the South. So I think you're seeing a huge turbocharged boom in the Northeast, just because, number one, more corporations are bringing their employees back to the office, which tend to be in major cities around places like here in New York, Philadelphia, and Boston. And I think pretty much everything is open 100% now. Where sales declined rather sharply was actually in the Midwest and in the West. So in the Midwest, sales fell 34.2%. That's very, very significant. Okay, so a 34.2% sales decline in the Midwest and a 0.8% decline in the West. So you can think about California. Kind of interesting how those numbers play out. Elena Delgado says, good evening. I love your vlogs. Thank you so much for being here, Elena. This stretch right here is very, very windy. We're in a little bit of a wind tunnel here. Ooh, that wind is brutal. All right, I think we're gonna have to cut down this road because the wind is absolutely brutal here. Hey, Beach Bros here. It's happy Thanksgiving from Virginia. Good to see you. Wow, check that out. What do you guys think of the color scheme on the Empire State Building today? Ignacio says, which place is more attractive now? The West Coast or the Midwest? Well, I don't think I could answer that question because I haven't really spent a lot of time in the West Coast and in the Midwest, right? I could tell you a lot about the Northeast and in the South, but from what I've been noticing and hearing from friends who live out in California and Silicon Valley, a lot of them are trying to get out. And for some reason, well, I shouldn't say for some reason, I think it's pretty obvious, but you're seeing a better recovery in cities like New York than cities like San Francisco. You're seeing a better recovery in cities like Miami, Florida than cities like San Francisco, right? Hey, Davey, good to see you, my friend. I'll be in New York Friday morning. Love that. Hope you enjoy your time. Man, we were like in a little bit of a windstorm here. Hopefully as we venture further north, the wind will die down. Maybe we'll try to cut through the Union Square holiday market. Yeah, Jesus, Raleigh was too real. So this is the Union Square market, but obviously it is closed for the night. But it's usually really nice, really, really nice here. Kathy Lyons is joining us. Good to see you, Kathy. Jonathan Francis, California leading the nation in homelessness. Yeah, it's definitely tough there in California. And I think I've said this before, and I may be saying this because I'm biased, right? I'm in New York, I live in New York, my family's from here. But I think New York is the one city in the United States where it is very, very unique. Now, why do I say that? Regardless of horrible, and it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, right? It doesn't matter how poorly run New York is from a political standpoint. It could be raging crime. People will still want to live here just because it's New York City. It has a very innate privilege in that respect. And I think politicians know that, right? But San Francisco, other cities, even Miami, other cities across the United States don't have that, right? If you live in, a random city, let's say, just pick any city, right? You could substitute any city. And if the taxes are raging, if the crime is spiking, if homelessness is out of control, people are going to dip, people are going to leave. But New York is very unique in which people will tolerate it to no end just because the city is so unique. And I know it may sound crazy for many of you watching, but it's true. It's true. Think about all the people in this city that complain about the crime, are very upset about it, but they're still here because they know the opportunities are here. And I think this is where us in the group chat, we sort of called this correctly. When everybody was saying during the pandemic, New York is never going to come back, New York is dead. New York is always going to come back for that reason. It's just something about the city that brings the smartest people from all over the world. And I think it's just so famous, a very, very famous city. And I think New York is the only city, maybe in the world, that has that sort of X factor. I don't know. Could be wrong. We'll see. So Ignacio makes a really good point. So Ignacio says, I think it also has to do with walkability. It has a huge part. That is true. That is so true. And for me, like, so I know how to drive. I know how to drive, but I don't drive. And, oh, there we have it. USA, England. Super excited about that. New York City, you could walk, you could bang out 10, 20 miles in a day and it feels like nothing, right? If you move to Austin, Texas, you can't do that. I'm not saying anything bad about Austin. I went to Austin once. I thought it was a great city, but my God, is everything so far away. I could never see myself living there. So I think Ignacio makes a good point. New York is such a commuter-friendly city. You could walk around, you could skateboard around. You can't really say that about many cities. In LA, you probably have to drive everywhere, right? Now, for all of our viewers from LA or who's familiar with LA, in your opinion, in your honest opinion, is it possible to get around LA if you don't have a car? Do you think it's doable? Do you think you could live in LA long term if you don't have a vehicle? I don't know. I've never been there, so I have to ask you guys. Big picks as I hear Austin. Yeah, I mean, a lot of cities are like that. Yeah, Ian's like, you could even rollerblade. Connor says it is doable, but it's inconvenient. And the traffic may be worse than New York, right? In LA. Smee Media says, I read that one of the Mad Men actors did not drive and took the bus in LA. Ah, interesting. Very interesting. Didn't know that. So Bria says you cannot live without a car in Phoenix, Arizona. Joe Driver's like London is also like New York City and walkable. I gotta get to London. I haven't ever been to London before. Let's cross the street since we have the light. I would love to go to London. London is also a very, very big finance hub. Very, very big financial hub. Steph UH, good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, somebody says London is expensive. I feel like every major city is expensive. All right, so this is now Broadway East 20th. You could see a nice shot of the Empire State Building. Destructionist is Tokyo is amazing too. Speaking of Tokyo, Japan played a great game. I'm so glad they beat Germany. I'm super happy about that. Oh wow, everybody check this out. Okta is right here. That's strange. I never knew that. So Okta is a cybersecurity company that specializes in IAM cybersecurity, which is identity and access management. Maybe they just opened a new office here. Very, very interesting. Did not know that. Yeah, Alex's excellent game. It was awesome. I'm so glad they beat Germany. That made me so happy. You know, this has been the World Cup of upsets, by the way. What were the two biggest upsets so far in the World Cup? Saudi Arabia beating Argentina and Japan beating Germany by far. Yeah, GGNYC, you're right. Everybody expected Germany to win. I think they came into the game very cocky too. I think this guy is going to be following us the entire time with this song. I thought it was behind me. I thought it was in front of me, but he's right next to us. Yeah, Ignacio, the Argentina game was more unexpected. I don't know. Germany tends to be a very strong side as well. Ethan G says it's crazy that Spain beat Costa Rica 7-0. Dude, Ethan, we were just talking about that game. That is a textbook example of how soccer is supposed to be played. Like, phenomenal stuff. Yeah, I know, SME Media. It's like they got that thing on replay. Oh no, they're crossing over to me. All right, let me pause here and see where these guys are gonna go, and then we'll try to avert. It's a fantastic song. Huge fan of the song, but I don't think I could listen to it on repeat. All right, we'll go this way. Great song, but I just don't think I could listen to it for 20 minutes. I know, pressure drops as Canada should have beaten Belgium. They wasted too many chances. You know, that's what usually happens, right? When you get a huge glaring chance. Here, we'll hold up and we'll let these guys. When you get a huge glaring chance so early on in the game and you blow it, it's a huge hit to the chemistry of the team. And it's very demoralizing, especially for the person who missed the PK. Oh, Rachel says go Korea today. When does Korea play? I'd be excited to see that game. Now, I did want to mention one thing really quickly. So, we know that the Sam Bankman-Fried fraud is in the news, right? And supposedly he is still scheduled to speak at the New York Times event and be interviewed by Andrew Ross Sorkin. Now, I'm quickly going to give my take on it because I think I have to. I think that is so disgusting. Now, I understand people want to do things for ratings because ratings drive views and views drive money. But it's, in what world do you know, okay, where somebody could literally fleece investors of billions of dollars and then they're invited on a global stage to be interviewed and they're charging people $2,500 to listen to the interview? I mean, do these people just have absolutely no class? So 2 thumbs down for the New York Times, big L for the New York Times. I will be canceling my subscription there. And I would advise all of my listeners do the same. I just think that is so classless. There's people that this guy fleeced investors of billions, and you don't think it's appropriate to say, okay, let's let the investigation play out, and it's probably not a good look to invite this guy to speak at a venue and charge $2,500 to listen to him speak? I mean, these people are sick. Now, if I were to go into, a Dwayne Reed and steal $100 worth of products, I would be in jail probably overnight, and I would probably lose my job, not be invited to a New York Times event and being paid to speak. So, New York Times, big 2 thumbs down for you guys. You should do better. And again, you don't have to agree with my take. That is just my take. And I respect everybody's take. Love is Kind is here. Good to see you. Somebody says propaganda newspaper, New York Times. Look, I like the Times, right? I just think it's in bad taste to have a person that literally used customer deposits to blow on mega mansions and buy his parents' houses and blow on drugs. And you're going to give this guy a platform to still invite him to speak? I mean, it's so bizarre. It's bizarre. It's beyond bizarre. Hey, Matthias, good to see you. Says, hey, Tom, long time no see. Good to see you, Matthias. Marty Lewis says, I've been reading the Times too long to cancel. It is for the one thing, agree that it's bad. It should be treated like criminal he is. Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, I'm no way saying I respect everybody's opinion on it, but I mean, they're obviously doing it because they're seeing what a big news event this is, and they want to drive, ratings, which drive sales. But I think it comes to an inflection point where, like, this guy is a huge criminal, right? I mean, you have people, like, think about it like this. Let's put this in perspective. In the United States right now, we have people that are rotting away in a jail cell for smoking marijuana. And you could have this 30-year-old punk that could fleece people, retail investors, for billions, and he's still living it up in the Bahamas, and he's invited to speak at the New York Times. I mean, if I was in charge of that, I'd be like, it's probably not in good taste to have him as a keynote speaker after he just defrauded, millions of investors. We should probably, put a rain check on that, at least for now. Crazy. Just nuts. Sparks Carnival says, my concern is the Wall Street Journal could equally be charged with the same thing. Well, I don't think they're hosting him at an event to speak, are they? Ed T says, Tom, yeah, I get all that stuff. I don't really want to get too on the political side of it. The point is, this guy could have been any crime. I think it's in poor taste to invite him to speak at a big event, right? People have been canceled for much less than that, right? Nowadays they dig into people's backgrounds from little things they said 20 years ago and cancel them. But this guy just ripped people off to the tune of billions of dollars 2 weeks ago, and they're going to parade him up, in front of Janet Yellen, the mayor in New York City. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Ian says, have there been any charges filed against Sam? I don't think so. I don't think, as of right now, I don't think there has been. But again, it's very, very early on in the process. I mean, the thing just blew up 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, Fun Feeds is like he's another Bernie Madoff. You're right. So that's the same. It's actually worse. We could actually say this is worse. That's as if, the Bernie Madoff scheme gets exposed and then they invite him to the New York Times event to get interviewed, right? And I'm a huge fan of Andrew Ross Sorkin, by the way. And I know many people are not, but I think he's a fantastic journalist and a very, very good writer. I tend to like Andrew Ross Sorkin a lot, but I don't know. I just don't agree with his direction here. He's like, look, we're going to interview him and nothing is off, no question is off the table, right? Like you're treating it like you're interviewing, you know, LeBron James. Like this is some big tabloid and like, oh, no question is off the table. Like, dude, the guy fleeced investors of billions. It's a serious thing. It's not like, I think you guys get where I'm coming from. Hey, Abdullah is here. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Yeah, Outer Haven. Yeah, even Elizabeth Holmes got 11 years in prison. That's true. I think she was just sentenced, last week? Or earlier last week? Yeah, Mimi is like, it could be a trap to bring Sam Bankman-Fried back to the Bahamas. Daniel Ford says, who doesn't like Andrew Ross Sorkin, great journalist? Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I think the thing is he just gets a lot of trolls on Twitter, or just like everybody does, right? But maybe it's just shown a little bit more on his feed because he's a big voice. But I think he's fantastic. I just think he's missing the point a little bit here. Wow, check this out. What do you guys think of the color scheme on the Empire tonight? Really, really nice. Hey, Gregory's here. This is 9.6 out of 10. Somebody was asking about the Credit Suisse situation. Well, the thing with Credit Suisse, I actually think they're okay. I think they actually just took on some money. They did a restructuring. But I would say the most at-risk banks is probably Deutsche Bank, ticker symbol DB, and Credit Suisse. I think it is. Yeah, DM says that the colors for Thanksgiving. I believe so. Maybe for the harvest colors. We're going to get a better view of it in just a minute. Daniel Ford's is HSBC. Ethan G, thank you for joining tonight. I appreciate it. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. So we have now made it all the way to Koreatown, or at least the start of it. 32nd Street, Broadway. We're going to be walking up 6th Avenue. Now, I think there's probably going to be a lot of people out because tomorrow is the parade. So I think it starts at 9 a.m. Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade starts tomorrow, 9 a.m. I believe it ends at 12, so you're going to see all of the barricades that are up. Matthew Baker is here. So hello, everybody. Good to see you, Matthew. Welcome. Melissa 2087 says, doesn't look too busy tonight. Yeah, so we're coming from downtown. So we started the stream Canal Street near Chinatown and Little Italy. So usually below 32nd Street after 8 o'clock is very mellow. Not a lot of people out. But as you see, as we're going to cross over 32nd, you're going to see a lot of people. At least I think, because they're setting up for the parade, number one. Number two, a lot of the holiday stuff is out. I think today is really the first day where the vast majority of all the holiday stuff is out. Hey, Bit of Wonder. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. Happy early Thanksgiving. Leo, welcome. Young Nation 92 says I missed the beginning of the stream. Deliverer says, what is the current temperature? It feels like 50 degrees out. It feels really, really nice. Thank God, because we're just coming off a massive cold front here in New York. So it feels actually really nice. Really nice night tonight. A little windy, a little wind picking up. Now, for those of you who are just joining, we didn't get too aggressive into the topics tonight. We mainly just covered new home sales data that came out. People playing ping pong in the park, love that. And we briefly reviewed the yield curve and how we could use the yield curve as a leading indicator to predict stock market moves. All right, so the crowds are getting a little bit big here. So I think we may start to buffer a little bit. Usually around 34th Street, when there's a lot of people, we tend to buffer a lot. All right, so now we are across the street from Macy's Herald Square, 34th Street. Hey, Ian, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I appreciate it very, very much. Just have a good rest of your week and happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Hopefully you enjoy it with your family and friends. A lot of traffic already backed up here because 34th Street is closed down. If you see all the barricades here, there's no cars able to go through or come out. Hey, Michelle McGraw, good to see you. Michelle is our great moderator. Always a pleasure to see you, Michelle. Thank you for joining and wishing you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. FredX, good to see you, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Patrick, New York. What's up, Patrick? Thank you for joining. So I'll try to cross over to the left, just so maybe we could see people. I always think the word is auditioning. I don't know why I say that. Practicing or rehearsing for the parade tomorrow. Ignacio says, is Thanksgiving an American-only holiday? I think so. Now, Canada has their own Thanksgiving, but I think that was last month. Canadian Thanksgiving is in October. War Walker, in all your years in New York City, you never went to the parade? Wow. You gotta fly up and experience it, my friend. I think tomorrow is going to be packed. I think it's going to be ridiculous tomorrow. Millie Vanillius says, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Good to see you. Oh, I think they may have closed it off. Let's see. Yeah, notice all the barricades around here. This place is going to be wild tomorrow. I definitely would avoid the city tomorrow if you can, because chances are the traffic is going to be out of this world. But Macy's is looking really nice tonight. So this is the very famous windows, holiday windows at Macy's. Yeah, I know. And this is a beautiful view of the Empire State Building from here. Hey, Sally is here. Thank you for joining, Sally. Good to see you. All right, since it's Thanksgiving Eve, I'll give you guys a quick swipe at the windows here, just so you can see it. I think we have a lot of new people tonight. I know Melissa 2087 says they are expecting 3 million people tomorrow at the parade. Oh my God. Yeah, I think it's gonna break records. I think tomorrow's absolutely gonna break records. Ben Smith says Thanksgiving in October. I thought so. Noodles says, why so many people this year? Well, I think it's two things, right? You're coming off 2 years of pretty much no travel or very, very few travel. And this is really the first year that the pandemic is really not a factor. So people are traveling like crazy. And we covered this when the major investment banks and the credit card issuers reported earnings. And consumer spending is shifting from durables, things like electronics. Oh, they're already closing off the street here too. Things like home and kitchen appliances to more services, right?
What are you doing?
Oh,
No.
yikes. Yeah, so I think it's going to be a record-setting event. Hotel stocks are leading as well. Hey, Mike is here. Thank you, Mike, for the $5 donation. I appreciate your support this year, my friend. Thank you for being so kind. Hey, Charlie Richardson. Good to see you. Happy birthday to you. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Good to see you, Charlie. All right, so we're gonna walk straight up 6th Avenue. We're gonna hit right into Bryant Park. Maybe the Winter Village is still up, we'll see. But right across the street from Bryant Park is the Salesforce Tower. So ticker symbol CM or CRM. And Salesforce is a very large enterprise software company that pioneered software as a service, or SaaS. And they've actually recently acquired, well, about a year ago now, another company called Slack that was formerly publicly traded under the ticker symbol WORK, or work. Hanlit says, happy Thanksgiving, Tom. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Hey, Jordan from Canada is here. Says, much love, New York City / Miami. Jordan from Canada. I'm assuming you watched the Canadian soccer team play today. Played Belgium. Unfortunately, we did not get the result we wanted. but there's always next time. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams about 5 days a week between New York City and Miami. So tomorrow, quick announcement about tomorrow. Obviously, since it is Thanksgiving Day, there's about a 50% chance we may or may not be live. I haven't really decided yet. I think the city's just gonna be too crowded and too crazy. And as you guys know, I don't really operate well in crowds, but I'll let you guys know. B. Kim, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I appreciate your support. This is great streams. Love the New York walks. Good luck tomorrow with the parade. Thank you so much, B. Kim. I'm wishing you very happy Thanksgiving as well. Hopefully you have some fantastic plans with your friends, family, and thank you for the support. Sparks Carnival says, Tom, take the day off. You deserve it. You know, I think I may. But all right, I'm gonna recommend you guys an interesting book that sort of relates to this topic. Now, this book was a gift from a client of mine. And at first I thought it was kind of like an insult, but it wasn't. And it's a really, really good book. And the book is called, I'm actually forgetting the name. It's called How to Fail at Almost Anything and Still Win Big. And the book is all about, if you want something and you want to pursue something, you should develop a systematic approach to that thing. Does that make sense? And for me, it resonated with me very, very strongly, because on this stream, we always talk about the investment business, right? Being a portfolio manager or a trader, in which case successful portfolio managers build systematic frameworks to investing, right? And the systematic framework looks something like building a top-down, bottom-up systematic approach to investing. So, long story short, this book is all about building systems that you can replicate and essentially do day after day, and continuously to do it in perpetuity forever, right? So let's say if you have a goal, it's not enough just to have the goal and say, yeah, I want to do this. What you need to do is you need to build systems around that and a process to say, if I wake up every day and do this, this, and that, and repeat those steps every day, you're more likely to achieve that goal. So for some reason, for whatever reason, the stream has worked its way into my daily routine to the point now where it feels weird if I don't do the show. Like, it just feels off. Like I can't sleep. I don't know why. But anyway. All right, it looks like the Bryant Park Winter Village is open, so maybe we'll take a walk around. Dusty Cole says, I feel the same. Hey, DJ A-Rod says, hey Tom, Herald Square is the end of the parade route, I think. So if you happen to catch the parade, you may have a somewhat lesser crowd further up the route. Yeah, I think you're right. The parade ends right at 34th Street, right outside Macy's. And I think it starts all the way on the Upper West Side of Manhattan in the 80s and goes down through Columbus Circle. Marty Lewis says, Tom, do you get some other walking or other exercise in? from the day, aside from the live streaming? Generally, yes. I do have to say I probably get more exercise in from like a lifting perspective when I'm in Miami. It's very hard to do that when I'm here in New York, just because I tend to be a lot busier here in New York, right? When I'm in New York, I tend to have a lot more meetings. I need to travel often and do more conference calls, aside than if I'm in Miami. Steph UH, this stream is so addicting, good stuff to see and learn. Yeah, and I mean, it's when I first started it, I never thought it would evolve into sort of what it is now. And it's almost as if I view, many of you, we haven't met in person, but you guys, you know, I think we've created a cool group. It's like we're all buddies, we're all friends here. And it's also a way for me as an investor, if I reinforce these core competencies and concepts and have open dialogue about it, I think it also gives me an edge, right? Because it's not very common where you could turn on the stream and have, you know, some nights we have like 800 people in the chat, right? And if we have 800 people discussing a financial topic and I lay out a thesis and you can get real-time feedback on that thesis, right? And many of you say, hey, Tom, I think you're wrong because of X, Y, Z. I think you should be thinking about it this way. And that's really invaluable. Really, really invaluable. And I appreciate that a lot. Wow, look at all these NYPD officers here in the Bank of America Tower. Oh, maybe they're taking a photo. That's nice. You know what they're probably doing? They're probably doing roll call for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. 2 thumbs up for the NYPD. Big fan of the NYPD. Hey, Disney Matt is here. It says, hey, Tom and chat. I'm going to be in Miami in 2 days. Any good recommendations for a breakfast place for Saturday in downtown Miami near Biscayne Marketplace or near Bayside Marketplace? Disney Matt, enjoy your time in Miami, my friend. It's going to be awesome. You know, I don't have any specific recommendations for breakfast near there. If I had to recommend a specific place, it's actually further uptown, 72nd Street. I'm blanking on the name of the coffee shop and the bakery, but it is by far the best coffee shop I've ever been to in my life. Beats out all the ones here in New York City. And it's 72nd Street, right as you go over the causeway there from Normandy Shores or Normandy Isles. All right, I'll give you guys one more look at the Empire State Building as we are standing right below Brian Moynihan's building, which is Bank of America Tower. And you can also see a little bit of Salesforce Tower right here. Hey, Vegetto14, what's up, man? Good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. It sounds windy. It's crazy windy tonight. Very, very windy. I don't know how we're going to escape the wind, but maybe by going up this way. But good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for joining tonight. Now, there's usually 3 key places in the city where it's extremely, extremely windy. One of which tends to be on 42nd Street. But the worst place for wind, in my opinion, in the entire city is Columbus Circle. Now, if you've ever gotten off the subway at 59th Street, Columbus Circle, especially in the winter, it's a complete wind tunnel. It is crazy, crazy windy. All right, team, hold that thought. I have to plug in my, what's it called? My external battery. All right, we should be good now. Yeah, Marty Lewis says, agree about Columbus Circle of the Wind. Oh, another is near you, 43rd Street and 10th Avenue, where your health club is. That is also, I'm familiar with that area generally because if you continue to walk down that way, you'll reach DeWitt Clinton Park. And DeWitt Clinton is extremely windy there. Oh, check out this view of One Vanderbilt. All right, we'll continue to press on. You guys see the gates out here. I know, Austin City Limits, we had to get the battery pack. Now, the only reason why I bought the battery pack actually is to have in my house in Miami, because we get hurricanes, and if the power goes out for a week, you have no way to charge your phone. So I had to get like a huge battery pack. But then I decided, look, if I'm gonna be in New York in the winter, the battery's gonna run out like crazy. So I think that's Santa Claus on a, what is that thing called? Rickshaw? All right, passing the old office here. The Marsh McLennan building. Now, obviously tomorrow, everybody, just a quick recap because we are approaching 2 hours here. But I want to take you guys to Radio City. So we won't end it until we get all the way up there because it is the Thanksgiving holiday. Tomorrow, market's going to be closed, obviously, but we will resume trading on Friday. So the market will be open, but it will close early at 1 o'clock. And the bond market will close at 2 p.m. Now, I think the biggest thing to watch that we reviewed early on in the stream is a couple key factors. Now, number one, if you look at that 10-year US Treasury yield, we are coming down quite a bit. So we had a rally in the 10-year US Treasury yield, tested the 50-day, and now we are coming back down, which is relatively stock market positive, yields lower. Number two is the dollar. I mean, the Dixie had a massive move today, declining quite substantially. That is also stock market positive in this environment. And then I think we need to watch crude oil, ticker symbol CL. So obviously the major leaders, I would say sectors in this market so far, been energy. Also, you could sprinkle in, biotech and healthcare in there. Watch that divergence between the XLE and crude. But if you look at the rally in the Dow, if you look at the rally in the S&P, we're approaching that level of a normal bear market rally, which is right around 15 to 18%. And the Dow is now all the way back to its level where its bear market rally concluded all the way back in the summer. So the two follow-through days that we got via IBD, or Investors Business Daily, are still in play. But I would watch out here. I think if we have dollar strength or a rally in the dollar. Check out this Christmas tree here at the News Corporation building that owns the Wall Street Journal, Investors Business Daily, and Barron's. I think if we have a rally in the dollar here, and we have that 10-year treasury yield going up, I think that's going to spell some trouble for the equity market, but we'll see. Hey, Exploration, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Michael Joseph, I saw that too. So today was Fed Minutes Day. You're right. But it really wasn't anything out of the ordinary that we weren't expecting, would you say? Okay, 2 more blocks, and then we've reached our destination. Hey, yo, what's up? Bagels and Walks. Good to see you, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. Hopefully you enjoy it with your family, friends, whoever you're going to be hanging out with. Wishing you a great holiday season. I see my friend Photos from around New York. Good to see you, Photos. You know, Photos, we started off down at Canal Street again. Haven't been there in a while since I've been back. Alright, so here we have, you know, I think the line is so backed up here for Adele's Famous. This is probably a 3 to 4 hour line here for this halal food. Destruction is happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining, and have a fantastic day tomorrow. Mr. Wonderful, welcome. Good to see you. Jim says, Tom, what is your gear setup? So we stream on an iPhone 13 mini. And I use a basic, I'm not too sure the exact name of the gimbal, but I just bought the first one off Amazon like 2 years ago. Using People says, what is your opinion on the MACD indicator in trading? I usually don't put too much credence on a lot of the technicals. I would say, you know, a good 80% of your idea generation should be from the fundamentals of the business, right? And about 20% should be from technicals. So your idea generation should not be from looking at a chart and saying, you know, this, it looks like it's coiling and it looks like it's going to go. Your idea generation should first be, right, understanding a macroeconomic framework first, right? So you could even talk about global macro to try to use leading indicators to predict GDP growth or GDP contraction. Because if you look on a 6-month look back, about 70% of the time, the S&P500 will forecast where GDP is going to go. So if you can look at things like the IMS or the Institute for Supply Management PMIs, just one basic one, there's many others, to develop a macro framework to say, okay, I think GDP is going to increase. Then from there, you can drill down into individual stock level based upon corporate earnings, right? Is the company going to be growing their revenues quarter over quarter, year over year? Are they going to be growing their earnings? year over year, quarter over quarter. And then once you have generated your ideas from the fundamentals, you can use technicals to enter positions and sort of manage around positions, but it should never be the other way around. No, I didn't hear that. I am Steve 12 says, did you hear that Manchester United is being sold for $6 billion? I did not. I heard that Cristiano Ronaldo is no longer with Manchester United, but I didn't hear that. Is that true? Okay, really quick, everybody, because we are pushing the 2-hour mark. If anybody is interested in halal food, big fan of halal. This is by far the best halal food in New York City, by far. Now, look at how crazy long the line is here. It stretches all the way down the block. And the people who are all the way at the end of that line are going to be waiting about probably 3 hours for this. Maybe a little bit more. But if you guys are interested in hearing more of my thoughts and a recap of the stream's conversations, if you scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, you will be signed up to receive our free investing newsletter, where we talk about the US equity markets, emerging markets, fixed income, and real estate. It's a good free way to support the stream and stay on top of the topics that are discussed amongst us chatters in the group. And I'll give you guys a shot of Radio City Music Hall. Now, I think the Christmas Spectacular show, which is put on by the Rockettes, I think it has already started, right? And I think it's going to run all the way after Christmas. I know, Kevin Ramsey says, no way I'm waiting 3 hours to eat. So true. It's worth it. I think the longest I've waited on that line was, I think, 2 hours. I think it was 2 hours. But it is worth it every time. Now, we can't cross here. I didn't know that. So we'll have to cross here. I forget they put all the barricades up. Using People says, what is your opinions about Jim Simmons? I have a very, very high regard for him. He's one of the greatest investors to ever do it, but his approach is a quantitative approach, right? So that is the founder of Renaissance Technologies, which is a quantitative hedge fund on Wall Street. They compete, I think his firm, Renaissance Technologies, has one of the greatest track records on Wall Street. I think they produce something crazy, like over 30% per annum. Now, if we think about other quantitative firms on the street, we actually just walked past one, which is D.E. Shaw, or David E. Shaw & Co. And that was actually where Jeff Bezos worked when he graduated college. He was an analyst at D.E. Shaw. Another one is 2 Sigma, which I believe is near NYU. 2 Sigma is another quantitative-based hedge fund. And then last but not least, we have our friend Ken Griffin at Citadel Securities, who is actually now relocated his quant hedge fund and market maker to Miami, Florida. They are based out of the 200 Southeast Financial Center, at least for now until they build their massive tower in Brickell. But those are probably the most successful one. You could think about jump trading as well. Oh my gosh, guys, check this out. So the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree finally has all of the scaffolding down. Okay, but team, we are just pushing on the 2-hour mark, which is when my brain gets a little bit mushy, turns to mush. And I think we've done about 13 miles tonight, so I'm a little bit tired. It was a busy day for me. I had to do pretty much like back-to-back presentations, so I am shot. So we will have to call it a night. I'll have to cut you guys loose. And everybody, I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. I want to thank you for supporting my work and joining the stream throughout the year. I much appreciate it. So Savi, thank you so much for joining. KAMP, thank you, appreciate it. Jamie, Bagels and Walks, Joan, Abdullah, Kathy Lyons, Noodles, Steph UH, Cayenne Pacific, Abdullah, all of our moderators, thank you so much. Alexis Garcia, DWG, Brandy. I'm gonna head home, everybody, get some much needed rest. I hope you guys do the same. I'm wishing all of your families and extended families a very blessed Thanksgiving. And thank you for the support. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We may be live tomorrow. If not, I will see you at the conclusion of the market close on Friday. Have a great night, everybody, and enjoy.